Ray Dalio is a hedge fund billionaire, and he's been very outspoken that China's future is very bright, and he believes China could be the next great superpower. Whereas Peter Zeihan has come on this show, he said very much the opposite, that China is on the edge of a catastrophe. What have you found in your research about the future of China?
So I have a tremendous respect for Ray Dalio, but I think it's important to understand his bias. And he's kind of almost like a politician here. I get a feeling that he probably, he manages hundreds of billion, I don't know, $100-something billion. Some of that money is probably for Chinese entities. So now, if you want to continue to manage this money, you can't really say anything that's critical of China. Now, and that is the core of the problem. Let's say Ray Dalio was managing money for some kind of pension fund in France. He could be critical of French economy, and it will not make a difference. Okay. However, and this is the key issue, when it comes to Russia, when it comes to China, when it comes to North Korea and some other countries, you can't speak negatively about this country because there will be repercussions, because those are not democracies. And I think actually I agree in agreement with Peter Zeihan, because what China did to some degree is remarkable. They brought in like incredible number of hundreds of millions of people out of poverty. Now, they were able to do this because they didn't suffer the bugs of the feature or bug of a democracy. Okay, if you want to build a highway and there is a building on the way, if it was any democratic country, the property rights would, the people would say, well, this is my building, and you would have litigation, etc. So it may take you 15 years to build a highway. In China, that building would just be demolished because, and so the dictatorships kind of, or I'm not sure, I guess the authoritarian systems, they're a lot more expedient. The problem is that so there is an upside to that. You can build cities in a few years. That's the upside. The downside that comes at the expense of personal freedom. That also comes at the expense that it creates excesses, because it's basically, if you look at what's happening in China, is that they set a goal that they want to grow economy at any cost. Why? Because they figured if they keep growing economy, people will be employed, they'll be happy, they have social stability. So they started to set goals to grow. What I learned is that the power of incentives. If you create a goal to grow, and the way they did this, they did kind of on the local municipality level. If you are a little king in that municipality, you're told you need to grow 10% a year. So what's the easiest way to grow 10% a year? Is to build. So China built a lot of buildings. And like Egyptians built a whole bunch of pyramids. And I'm sure when they were building those pyramids, the economy was growing. But these pyramids, maybe 5,000 years later, they have whatever, how many thousands years later, they have a tourist value. But I'm sure for a long time there was just blocks of concrete or whatever, with very little utility. So when you have what China did, they created a lot of empty cities that nobody lived there, and the problem is, to build the cities, somebody had to give out loans to build them. So you had a lot of so China right now has a huge bad debt issue. And also Peter Zeihan obviously talks about they have demographic issues, etc. So over the next 5 or 10 years, China may get stronger or may not, but longer term, I would not be better than China. as even as a global superpower, because they're going to have significant economic issues.
And you believe that those significant economic issues would be as a result of the bad debt, or do you see other factors?
Yeah, it's a result of misallocation of capital, bad debt. Exactly yes.
So how do you navigate around that then, knowing that that you have this thesis that that's going to have a ripple effect as China is so integrated with the rest of the world?
Well, I think it's difficult. I mean, I would be very careful to my exposure to commodity stocks long term, especially not as much oil per se, but the industrial commodities. I would not want to own any companies that are based in China. I would want to limit amount exposure I have to companies that have a lot of sales coming from China. I mean, I think those would be kind of the ways to deal with that.
Thanks for watching that video. To see the full episode, check out the box over here or the link in the description.